What is up, guys? Evil Duosarm here today, and today I have for you a video where I'm going to share my new player class recommendations for Blade and Soul. Now, these recommendations are going to have different skill levels for the player, or for someone that's coming into Blade and Soul. So I'm going to go over really your skill levels, your ping levels, things you should be looking at when you go ahead and pick these classes, and try and give you the best idea of what you want to play. These aren't in any specific order. I'm going to go over 3 of them that I feel are very strong candidates for a new person or a new player coming into Blade and Soul, and like I said, with different levels of skill. So the very first one I'm going to recommend is the Warlock, and the Warlock, as you'll see when we get into this, is an amazing class for a new player for so many different reasons, so let's get started. So here we are logged into my old Warlock. I've had this character for a long time. I think it was the 3rd character I actually ever created in Blade and Soul. I really like the Warlock class as a class itself. It has a lot of great bonuses, but there's several key reasons why you should be playing this class as a new player. First reason, it is not heavily ping dependent. A lot of people say that the Shadow build is super heavily ping dependent, or whatever. Even Ice build people say that it's heavily ping dependent. The truth is, the better your ping is in this game, the more DPS you're going to get and everything. However, the reason why the Warlock is such a great class and not as ping dependent is because your key function, or your primary function in raids and in dungeons and things like that, is your soul burn buff. So if I go ahead and hit K and open up the view trainable skills, and we head over to the soul burn buff tab in the bottom right over here, you'll see that this character has a buff called soul burn. So soul burn, what it does is it unlocks a different skill for every character in your party for a couple of seconds, 15 seconds to be exact. And basically that skill for most classes, or just about all classes really, is a huge DPS increase for them to be using it. So for 15 seconds you can increase your party's DPS substantially. In addition to that, when you get to a super late game Warlock that has their end game accessories, so when you've been playing this class for a long time, you actually can increase your party's DPS even further by basically doing double the damage while the soul burn buff is active. So it is an incredibly powerful buff for your class, for all classes really. Everybody can take advantage of this soul burn buff. Because of the soul burn buff and because of the fact that it's one of the strongest in the game, nearly every single party is going to be looking for a Warlock. So what I did is actually, if you look in my Discord, I had a survey up, and if you're not in my Discord, go ahead and join my Discord. The link's in the description below. And what I did is I surveyed my Discord to figure out how many players play the different classes and what elements they're looking for when they're going shopping for their accessories, I should say. So as you can see, the Warlock falls as the 2nd most popular class in my Discord of the 100-something people that filled out the form. There's also no destroyers on it, which is quite ironic. But anyway, so the Warlock class at 12.6% is the 2nd most popular class. However, every party in Blade and Soul can only have 6 players in it. So basically, of the 6 players, there's only 12% that are Warlocks. So you have a pretty good chance of getting into a party, since every single party basically needs a Warlock. Not really needs, because you can clear all content without all the different buffs or classes or whatever. However, it is an incredibly helpful bonus, as I've already said, so just about every party wants a Warlock. So for raids, for dungeons, everything, you'll be able to get into parties incredibly easy with the Warlock. Another reason it's great for new players, because new players tend to have a difficulty finding parties or getting into parties. Being a Warlock, everybody's going to want you in your party. In addition to that, like I said, super easy ping-wise. You can have just about any ping and still be useful because of the soul burn buff. And then additionally, it's got some nice little mechanics to it. Your attacks are pretty flashy. All of your evades and dodges and iframes are flashy. You get to summon a thrall with you, so you have a sort of mini pet that you ultimately blow up for soul burn. But hey, and the soul burn gives you a cool outfit, so that's a nice little bonus as well if you like that. Anyway, so it's a great class for new players. The rotation isn't too difficult, and actually with simple mode that's been added into the game, if you just hover over that and hit Shift F3, it'll show you what your basic rotation is that it's going to do for you. So as you can see, there's not too many things going on there, so it's an easier rotation for a newer player to learn. I think honestly it's my favorite class to recommend to someone who is new to the game. And new to MMOs in general. If you are a more experienced MMO player and looking for something a bit more of a challenge or a bit more fun, well, the second option is going to be for you. So let's get into it. Alright, we are back and we are looking at the Assassin class. So I know a lot of people are going, what? Why would you recommend the Assassin to a new player? This class is super complicated. It's got so many things going on. And that is the reason why I would recommend it to a new player. So first of all, some caveats here. Don't play the Assassin class if you have high ping. You're not going to enjoy it. High ping, I'm saying anything over like 180, 200 is probably your upper limit where I would even think about playing this class. Really, you should be looking for that 120, 130, 140 range on ping if you really want to enjoy the Assassin class. Additionally, you're also going to want a computer that lets you play Blade and Soul in melee range. What do I mean by that? You're going to want something that lets you get like 30, 40 FPS, so you're going to be looking at a pretty decent graphics card, pretty decent processor. You're going to need a solid setup to be able to play melee range in Blade and Soul, especially during raids or things like that. The game is very, very demanding in its current state. Anyway, so as long as you got a decent computer and got some pretty good ping, you can play the Assassin class to its maximum ability. The reason I'm saying to a new player is because there's so much room for growth or to learn this class, in addition to a great amount of party utility that's going to make you wanted in parties. So, first of all, let's start off with the party utility. The Assassin, just like the Warlock, has a party buff. The Assassin's buff is called Blue Buff. If you're looking for it in chats, it could be BB they could write, anything like that. So when you're looking for parties, be looking on lookout for that, people that want a blue buff. The buff is actually called Fighting Spirit. What this buff does is it increases your party's critical damage, critical hit rate, and self-regen or healing abilities. So basically this buff combined with Soul Burn, so a lot of parties look for a Warlock plus an Assassin or a Warlock plus a Kung Fu Master, because the Kung Fu Master has the same exact buff, Fighting Spirit. They look for those so they can get stupid amounts of damage during that 15-second Soul Burn. So like I said before, the Soul Burn buff gives you a crazy amount of damage, skill that does a lot of damage. The blue buff increases the damage of that skill even more, so that's the idea. You're trying to amplify that 15-second period. The Fighting Spirit buff additionally can be reduced by cooldown, or you can reduce the cooldown of it in the Shadow build of the Assassin, or the Lightning build is a full stealth build. So that's another great bonus to players, right? You can do pretty much two different builds, two different play styles. So the Lightning likes to stay in stealth the entire time. The Shadow build does not. The Shadow build stays out of stealth, tries to do more upfront damage in your face sort of damage. So, you know, you've got a different play style. If you get bored with one, you can switch to the other. It's another great reason to play the class as a new player. But back to party utility, the Assassin does something that the Warlock cannot, and that is a party iframe or stealthing abilities or a whole bunch of different stealth mechanics. So first of all, instead of speccing your blue buff, you can actually, I'll go into my K here, you can spec a different spec here of the Fighting Spirit buff, which actually pulls your teammates to you. So what you can do is you can go into stealth as the Assassin, because the Assassin is the stealth class. You can plant your flower, which is like the taxi, it's called. People call it taxi in this game. And what you do is you drop the flower, you stealth by a whole line of mobs for something like 30 seconds, 25 seconds, just run around it all, and then pull your entire party to you. This helps to speed up dungeon runs so you don't have to clear mobs, and it's great. It's really a really cool skill. Additionally, you can spec your shuriken for smoke screen, which is a protect party for projectile resist, so that's a great thing for bosses that shoot projectiles at you. You can block projectiles. Additionally, you can do it for a party protect that stealths your whole party. So once again, if it's a shorter line of mobs and you just don't want to fight them, you can give your party a 6-second resist, 6 seconds of invisibility to just walk by the mobs. It's really, really great utility. The final stealth utility that the Assassin can do for a party is it's 2, it's party iframe. So if you hit 2, so I'll do it right now, you get a block, and if you hit 2 again, as you saw right there, he went like that with his hands. During that time he's going like that, if you time it correctly, which is another reason why you want low ping when playing the Assassin, it basically blocks that attack that the boss is doing for your entire party. An amazing skill. You can save an entire party, you can protect a whole party, and it's very useful in later raid bosses such as Scion's Keep. It's essential. You need a stealth party iframe like that. So once again, same thing as also Ebon Drake Citadel, another dungeon. You literally cannot clear that dungeon without that, or without a Frost Sheath. Now, I'm saying it like that, but really at this point, everybody's damage is so high you can just walk through it. But still, it's a very useful mechanic that's in high demand for different dungeons. So you'll always find yourself in a party with the Assassin class as well, which is a nice bonus for playing the class. So that as far as party. As far as solo play goes, like I said, you've got two builds that are completely viable. Both do a lot of damage. Both of them are different, you know. The Lightning build, you want to stay in stealth more often. You're trying to sneak around bosses, trying to stay on their backside. The Shadow build, you really don't give a crap. You just go ahead and fight the boss and beat them down. Personally, I like the Lightning build because I like playing in the stealth when I'm playing as my Assassin, but the Shadow build also can be quite fun. And yeah, so then looking at the tables, like I said from before, I was going to keep coming back to these. If you can see that the Assassin is one of the lower played classes in my Discord server. Only 7.6% of the players are playing the Assassin. Crazily low played class, but like I said, so much utility, so much fun, so many different things you can do with it. As long as you have a fast enough computer and enough ping, or low enough ping, you can play it really well. The other nice thing about the Assassin is that it uses Shadow or Lightning, like I said, which as you can see, once again, is not the big hitter, the fire. Really, if a fire accessory drops in any of these raids or any of these events, people are going to be bidding for it, and it's going to be hard to get. So the fact that it uses Shadow or Lightning, relatively lowly used accessories, so when you're trying to gear this character, it will also be relatively easy to gear. A nice little bonus with that. So that is my second recommendation to new players. It's definitely a higher skill cap. You know, you're going to have a lot more rotations, a lot more skills to learn than the Warlock, and then my final selection here as well. So but still, I would highly recommend it to someone that's looking for more of a challenge, looking for more of a skill cap, looking to have a bit more fun or a little bit more activity while playing the game. So let's go to my third and final recommendation for a new player right now. And finally, the final class that I would recommend to a new player is the Soul Fighter. So the Soul Fighter, similar to these other classes, is relatively easy to gear as far as acquiring things go, provides party buffs, and just generally an easy enough class to play for a newer player to get a hold of, while still offering enough difficulty and complexity of their mechanics to make it a fun class to continue to play on and on. I know a lot of players that have been playing Soul Fighter for a long time. It's definitely a class that you will not get bored with. As far as the main rotation goes, since I can throw simple mode on to show you the main sorts of rotations you can look at, once again you see it's pretty repetitive amount of skills there. You know, your basic rotations are pretty simple. A lot of right mouse button, a lot of effing. Now what you include in those skills are based on your soul badge that you pick up with this character. Ultimately will change your rotation a bit and will make it a bit more varied in your playstyle. Once again, after the most recent update, both builds are completely viable. Before this, it was just Ice was the only really one you could go if you wanted to do damage, but now you can go Ice or Earth and still get a lot of damage out on this character. It is a very high damage class, and it's also a very supportive class as well. So like with the Assassin or the Warlock, you had the two buffs, while the Soul Fighter is a healing class. It's a healing sort of support class. So you actually have different heals, two heals actually. If we go over to our skills here, you see they have Chi Burst. So Chi Burst basically heals your party for 10% of their health, or for even more health, 30% over a 30-second period. So you get a nice heal for your party. You can get Hung Moon skills for this to make it even stronger, and it also increases your party's health. Your ultimate ability, actually I can just scroll down to the bottom here, will heal your whole party even more, so you have another huge heal on this character. But the big one that's super critical with the Soul Fighter is the Resurrection Chi. So this skill will revive your entire party, which if you've watched any of my streams, if you've been thinking about getting into the game, or you watch anybody else's streams that runs Blade and Soul, the ability to revive your party is an amazing, amazing ability. It's saved raids so many times. That's why I love bringing this character to learning raids when I'm teaching people how to run different dungeons or raids or anything, really. It's just great to be able to hit one button and bring the whole party back up. And actually, with the most recent change, they moved it over to C in Elemental stance, so you actually don't accidentally hit it when you're trying to use your heal instead. I used to do that all the time. It was very embarrassing. But anyway, guys, yeah, the Soul Fighter, highly recommend this class as well. It does great damage, has great party utility. You won't have difficulty finding endgame parties because, like I said, everybody loves that res. Everybody loves that heal. Actually, there's certain dungeons that you or certain raids, the first boss of Temple of Illuvium, you absolutely need a Soul Fighter in the party. So once again, there's going to be demand for you. As far as how the class breaks down in the game, once again, these are my stats from the Discord. You will see that Soul Fighters of my Discord, only 5% of people surveyed answered that they were a Soul Fighter as their main. So not a very popular class in-game, which means that since you do need a Soul Fighter for these higher game contents, and you do love that Soul Fighter res, it'll be in a high demand, so you'll be able to get into parties relatively easily. That's one of the hardest things in Blade and Soul as a new player, is getting into parties. So people will love to have that party res. Another thing to note is that the two elements for the Soul Fighter are Ice and Earth, and as you can see, those are the two, well, almost both lowest. You have Wind down here a little lower at 11%, but Ice and Earth are your two elements, and they are two of the lowest used elements, which means you're going to have a very easy time gearing this character as well. So even better for new players to get their legendary items. So anyway, guys, that is it. Those are the classes I would recommend to a new player. All three of these classes bring great party utility, so you're going to have excellent party finding skills. You'll be able to get into parties with ease, raids with ease. Additionally, they are involve engaging gameplay. You're not just going to be sitting there hitting one button or doing one thing over and over again. You know, you have a lot of different iframes, a lot of different mechanics you could invest in. In terms of difficulty, how I would rank them if you're like new entirely to these games, I would say the Warlock would be my first bet for you if you're just getting into the game. It's going to be easier to play, a lot less going on with it. If you want something sort of in the middle ground, the Soul Fighter is a great class because of the heals and the party utility while bringing a lot of damage as well to the party. And then finally, the Assassin, I'd say, is probably your most complex one here for newer players that are just getting into the game. You're going to have a lot of skill cap, I guess is the right word. You can always learn new things, always need to learn new combos with the Assassin, so you'll have a lot to learn, but you'll also have engaging gameplay. So yeah, guys, those are the ones I would recommend to newer players. Like I said, if you do have any questions, or if you think I missed one, or if you got a better one, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will get to it and address it. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching as always, and I will see you at the next video. Peace.